Stream's up, you got it? Hello?
Yes, I now have 3 monitors activated, so managing things has become easier.
Oh, okay.
I organized some cables with releasable zip ties, and now my wire management is much better. Very happy.
Okay. So, did you look at the logic stuff more at all?
Uh, kind of. I didn't solve the last things you gave me. I guess that was in tutor 14, so this should have the comments. Yes. Okay, kind of. I made an image in a program. Trying to open it. The image. Oh, where did it go? I thought it was in here. It appears to not be in there. Back one. Okay, there it is. Okay. I tried making pictures. Yes. It was with okay, had which gates? I forget. This was trying to do one of the gates. Okay, what was the thing that was trying to be done? Why was this image made? What were the things? Okay, I think this one was making not gates with NAND gates. I think that's what this was. And then this
So that's
is
an
doing
older one.
something. Yeah, I like remade this just to like kind of get a feel for it or something, like get used to it.
It looks
And
more
then
like an
this was
AND
trying to
gate.
sell. Oh, this one?
Making not from NAND, you only use one NAND.
Oh.
This looks like an AND from NAND.
Okay, so X and Y make Z.
Right,
And
see
then
there's
we
two
have
inputs as well. So if it was a NOT gate, it would only have one input.
not gate. One input. Oh, not. Okay, I'm kind of confused. Not sure what this gate is. It appears to have the output of not Z, and Z is what comes from NAND X, and or Z is whatever comes from like having numbers in here. So I guess with making a NAND gate and a NOT gate, you just have like a one input, and then you put any other input, and it will flip the other input. So if this is a one, if this was a one, it would be a zero, and if this was a zero, it would become a one. Okay. Okay, so this one was use and not to make or. This one not make and. Okay, I think we made Zor. Uh,
We didn't do it.
what did we make? We made not. Did we make something else?
We
Okay,
made
we
not and using NAND.
not and
You
using
also did
okay,
not from Zor.
not from okay. Exclusive or okay, so we made not and or with NAND and not with Zor. And Okay, so not and with an and not with SOR.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Okay, I also noticed that with, okay, so yeah, this is trying to make OR with and not. And notice that if we have and not, that also means we basically get a not and gate.
Sure. Yep.
I don't know if the not and gate helps with making the something we were making. I forget what it was that we were making. This one.
It's not particularly.
Hmm.
So do you want to work on this or do you want to go back to grammar?
I'm not sure. I don't know. Grammar. Haven't practiced any of the grammar, and also haven't practiced any of the this thing. Huh. It seems kind of ineffective for me to do tutoring without doing practicing. I think doing practicing would make tutoring like more effective because if I do
Yeah.
tutoring and learn about grammar, then there's like the stuff I could learn on my own, which might be like 75% or whatever. And then
Yeah.
there's like the stuff which I could learn only from like tutoring or like asking questions. So like 75% of the stuff we do might just be stuff I could have learned on my own. And then like only 25% of the stuff is like actually important from tutoring. So like if I just learned all the stuff I could on my own, then like 100% of the things could be like tutoring important, like tutoring specific.
Yeah, by the way, have you been reading books?
Uh, I've been trying to do a chapter a day of Fountainhead. I haven't started reading any new Heinlein. I finished The Man Who Sold the Moon, like kind of a collection of books,
Mm-hmm.
but haven't done.
Yeah, well, a chapter of Fountainhead a day sounds like enough reading.
Yeah, right now I'm at part 17. Spoilers, it's at the part where, or I just finished the chapter where Wynand, like, gave in to the strike. That seemed sad.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So you're pretty near the end. So probably not that many chapters left.
Yeah, it's like two or three, I think.
Yeah, so you'll finish it up soon and then you can read Heinlein or whatever. So that's good.
I think the part about it is sad is that like Wynand tried to like actually do a kind of principled thing or something. He like was trying to defend Rourke. He like wanted to defend Rourke, and he was like trying not to give up. He didn't want to give up, uh, but he like failed because he didn't want the banner to uh, end. I guess like be closed down. I'm
Yeah,
not
he was
sure.
he was under a lot of pressure.
Yeah, it was like 2 months of like everyone, or like of very few employees, and like attacks against like banner drivers. It said like one of them died or something. So like that would give a sense for like how much pressure he was under.
Yeah, so the other thing besides logic or grammar is we could talk about philosophy stuff. Like we talked about Bezos before. I don't know
Yeah.
how interested you were in like what sort of world you live in.
Uh, I don't know. I think I'm interested. I like talking about the Bezos stuff. That was
Okay, well,
good
I
for some reason.
happen to run into another example. You see, this is Elon Musk's girlfriend,
Uh-huh.
who he had a kid with. And you can tell some things about her just by looking
Full screen.
without
Okay.
actually, looking up information about what her job is or whatever.
Okay. There seems to be makeup on the lips. Uh,
That's
this
accurate.
seems like very well done hair or something. Like,
Yes.
she has like a necklace thing on, which seems really weird. And uncomfortable maybe.
Yes, her
Like,
collar is a little bit strange. Her necklace or whatever.
okay. Uh, wait. Okay. It seems like. Wait, what else is there? Uh, okay. Lots of effort seems to be going into the clothing and
Yes.
appearance. Okay. High effort appearance. Unlike Howard Rourke, who in the first like chapter it was mentioned that he had like kind of tattered clothes. And yeah.
Yeah. She didn't get those clothes at Costco.
Yeah. Also you can see okay, there's like some Feynman lecture that Feynman did where it was like uh something computer heuristics. I don't know. And like you could see the clothes he was wearing were not very fancy. Okay, Feynman, computer heuristics. Uh,
Yeah, so she definitely has like eye makeup as well and foundation and stuff to hide all her pores and blemishes. Is
okay, move. How to move this? Uh, oh no.
that a tattoo on her finger or is that just like temporary stuff? That's it's something.
Okay.
Oh, what the hell is this?
Uh,
Like she has some weird metal thing on that finger?
okay, trying to have this thing. Huh. Yeah.
Anyways, so you can just take one glance at her and you can get an impression, which is not a 100% guarantee, but she looks like a social climber who's not very intelligent and spends her time pandering to people and trying to look good.
Okay. This is like Feynman when he was
I
like
see.
doing a lecture at like a college for like computer heuristics or something.
Yeah,
Uh, doesn't look that fancy. Not even like a suit or tie.
that is not fancy. I agree with you.
Okay, wait, what were you saying about her? Like lots of effort in
Yeah,
something?
she looks like a social climber who
Social climber.
looks pretty and pleases people, tries to be what they want so that they'll like her. And she did a good enough job of it to get with a billionaire.
Hmm. Yeah. Huh.
And then what is the billionaire doing with her? Why doesn't he get like a smart girl or something? Like either one, there are no smart girls, or more likely, two, he doesn't want a smart girl.
Huh. And-
And then there's also the theory, three, you can have it both ways. You can put tons of effort into looking great and whatever, and be smart. And this is what a lot of people really want to believe, is just that you can do both view. And it doesn't violate a law of physics to do both. Like, it's not theoretically impossible to, at the same time, be really good at smart stuff and makeup and clothes and fashion and so on.
yeah, like if you're really smart, then you could probably like read a book on makeup or whatever. Like look at pictures like this of Grimes and be like, okay, what exactly is she doing that people like? Like, how can I copy this? And like, what are the differences that would make the things I copy like not work for me?
Yeah, the thing is, if you're that smart, why would you want to do that? It's not that you can't exactly, but like, don't you have better things to do?
Yeah.
And so the thing about these people is it's not just their appearance. Like, the appearance is what you see in the photo, but if you talk to them, or you observe them talking to other people, or you see them on talk shows or in interviews or whatever, like, they have the personality to match. That's part of it. You don't get to go to these parties and date Elon Musk if you have a personality that's unpopular just because you look good. Not all the girls have like the best personality, but the ones like this don't embarrass them at parties, don't offend people at parties, um, can get along with people and small talk and stuff. Some of them come off a little vapid or something, but not in a way that like really threatens people or alienates people.
Okay, so vapid is like kind of not knowing much, like kind of dumb maybe.
Yeah, like airhead
Huh. Okay.
and shallow.
So like instead of having a brain, they have like gas for a brain or something. Uh, vapid seems like it has something to do with vapor.
I don't know. Apparently it comes from drinks that lack flavor.
Huh.
Offering nothing that is stimulating or challenging. Yeah, by the way, your notes, both exist is not very clear wording. The point is that some people think that both exist like in one person. A single person can be both.
Okay, so it'd be like you can have both in one person.
Yeah, because there's no controversy that there are smart people and there are pretty people. Um, but see, my assumption is that if you see a girl like this, she's not smart. And there's a lot of people who are offended by that and they think it's stereotyping, which it is, and it's not like a 100% guarantee, but I think the stereotype is pretty broadly accurate. That the stuff she's doing, like, it's very competitive. If you do it half-assed, you're not gonna be dating Elon Musk.
Yeah, so you need to like put in a lot of effort to be impressive socially to date Elon Musk or like Jeff Bezos. What was Jeff Bezos'
Right.
wife?
So the people who do well, yeah, Jeff Bezos is dating a vapid girl with large breasts who gets on TV and stuff.
Hmm.
So yeah, these positions are competitive. Um, if you don't like sort of embrace the lifestyle fully, it's hard to keep up and compete with people who are trying harder than you. So after seeing one photo, I looked up who she is, and she's a professional, like pop star type person, musician.
Hmm.
So definitely not one of the smart girls. Like not a intelligence oriented career either. Of course, there's people who are like, well, you can be hot and do music and also be smart in your as a hobby in your spare time or something. And
That
I don't
seems
think they
like
have a lot of examples.
cheating.
Like, I think the people who try to be smart as a profession have enough trouble with it. Like, most of the public intellectuals aren't that good at it. And I certainly don't see a bunch of, like, music stars being particularly smart. Especially not the females.
Okay. Females in general stereotypically try to social climb more. Is that a thing?
Yeah, and they're also under more pressure to have certain personality types and to not be good at math and to not be smarter than the guys they're dating. A lot of guys don't want a girl that's better than them.
Okay, that
Like,
makes
because
sense.
then they feel inadequate. They're supposed to be the breadwinner. They're supposed to make more money than her. They're supposed to be the decision maker, the man of the house. They're supposed to be smarter than her. They don't want to be getting corrected by their wife all the time about things that they're supposed to be, like, good at. So most guys prefer a girl who will just, like, laugh at their jokes and not think much.
Hmm. So that's also something. Uh, huh. Okay.
And
Okay.
go ahead.
Seems like this has something to do with like, uh, suppose Elon Musk is a smart person. He's a smart person. He good at doing things, like making money and like doing progress or whatever. Uh, why does he want a wife who's not good and smart at doing
Well,
progress and
all
stuff? Why
right.
doesn't
There
he
there
like
are
try
two
to
main
create
answers to that. Hold on. First, I gotta write down. Okay, so why would Musk want someone like that? There's two main reasons. One, uh, he is not actually so smart and good at things and so on.
Mhm.
Or two, you can have it both ways. You can be smart and also like breasts and nice hair and so on, and care a lot about that too, and about impressing people by having arm candy. So, theory two is like Rourke would date arm candy, because why not? Hotness is cool, right? What's wrong with that? Rourke can just do like his architecture stuff like at work, and then he'll go home and have fun with his arm candy. And also let her parent his child, because that'll go well or something.
Mhm. Okay.
There's people sort of deny that what type of person you are makes any difference to how good of a parent you are. Which I think is like utterly ridiculous.
Uh, yeah, that seems wrong. Uh, yeah. So, parents. I don't really know much about parenting, but having a different person as a parent, I think, would affect children a fucking lot. Like,
Yeah,
if you live in like a rural area or like the woods versus like living in a city, I think that would like affect a child a lot. So like maybe parents can like change it a lot as well.
yeah. Like if the parent is smart and good at explaining things, or dumb and authoritarian and says, because I said so, those are very different childhood experiences.
Yeah, like Feynman once talked about like an experience he had with his father, where his father like told him kind of about like how it doesn't really matter to like know the name of something. It kind of like more matters to like know what the thing actually is. It was like a story with birds. Like
Yeah.
Feynman's father was like, "Oh, this bird is called the blah blah, and in Japanese it's called the wamadigo, and in Spanish it's called the tut tut." But like none of those actually tell you anything about the bird.
Yeah. A lot of people are very, very forgiving of most parenting. think partly because their own children like cry a lot and hate them and so on. So they're all sort of like, as long as you're not abusive, it's all good. And they all sort of agree to support each other instead of like pushing each other to do better.
Huh. That kind of seems like, okay, something rand moral blank check. Like, okay, I'm also being bad, so you can be bad, and you can be bad, and you can be bad. And I was thinking about like, you get a blank check, and you get a moral blank check. Like, don't judge me, and I won't judge you.
Yeah. Yeah, Rand advised the opposite of that. She said, judge and prepare to be judged.
Hmm. That seems like a good thing to do.
Here it is. Judge and prepare to be judged. I got the quote right.
Okay.
So, being good at rationality or intelligence or that kind of thing is hard. People fail at it. And people try their best. Or, they claim that they do, and they make it their career. And they still fail at it a lot.
And they still fail to judge my intelligence.
So, if you have huge distractions, like 3 hours a day on clothes and makeup, then you're going to have a harder time with it.
Okay, so people already try very hard to be like good at like smart things and like being able to judge how good someone is, like their intelligence or something. I forget exactly what you said. Uh, and then they still fail at it. So like doing another thing that takes a lot of time uh, would make the intellectual stuff a lot harder.
Yeah, and the biggest problem is not time or effort or something. It's sort of like mindset, like how you think about the world. If you have a scientific mindset, it's hard enough to do that if it's your only mindset, but if you're sort of spending half your time with a scientific mindset and half your time with a superstitious mindset, it's going to be harder to be a good scientist if you're going back and forth rather than just focusing on how do I do the scientist thing and making that feel like intuitive and second nature to you.
I am not used to calling social stuff superstitious. I think that's kind of what you just did. That seems kind
No,
of
I just
a
meant superstition, like as a different example.
oh,
Because superstition clashes with science in a more straightforward way than social clashes with science. So I thought it was an easier example. Like if
okay.
you're believing in
That makes
haunted
sense.
houses and Bigfoot half the time, and you're trying to be a scientist half the time, it's hard to go back and forth and keep everything straight in your head and learn both systems and ways of thinking and be able to like turn one off and switch to the other one and then go back and not let any of the superstitious stuff bleed over into your scientific work. Not let it have any effect or crossover.
So it's already hard enough to have like one consistent mindset with like
Yeah.
one thing. So like having two would be really fucking hard because then it's not just like making a mindset, but like making another mindset and also splitting them apart from each other so they don't interfere with each other at all. So like
Yeah,
that
so
would
it's a
be
lot more than twice as hard to have two mindsets if they agree with each other.
maybe if you like got really good at the two mindsets, then like a third mindset would be not as difficult because you'd like know how to separate things maybe, but it might also
Sort
be
of.
more difficult.
But so the idea of separating though, it contradicts science. Science says we have things like these laws of nature that apply everywhere, like gravity. Applies on every planet. It applies in every house. It is a universal law of nature. You can't just turn gravity off half the time. You can't change mindsets and have gravity go away, etc.
Yeah. So to have two mindsets like superstition and science, you'd have to like be violating your science mindset.
Yeah, if you think a house is haunted, then it's not just you're in a different mode than science, but you're disagreeing with science when you do that. Science says that house is not haunted. You can't have it both ways.
Let's see.
It's not the same as like if you spend half your time playing baseball and half your time playing basketball. Those, don't contradict each other. You're just losing practice time, but
Yeah.
they're not directly incompatible either.
hmm Like playing two fighting games also might be like more compatible. I'm not sure. Like playing two games at all seems difficult maybe at like a
Yeah.
professional level, but like two fighting games that are like similar enough that could be like doable. That's kind of what love is
Yeah,
trying to do, I
like
think.
M2K used to play Smash Melee and Smash Brawl in tournaments at the same time. It was still harder, and it made it harder for him to win in any one tournament. But he was good enough to do well in multiple and be like pretty near the top.
Hmm.
So people sort of deny that caring about looks and sex appeal a lot, or like social pandering, small talk type behaviors, like sucking up to people and getting along with them or whatever. They deny that those kind of things contradict reason in the way that superstition does. Like, a lot of people would agree that if you're superstitious or you're religious, that that's incompatible with the scientific mindset.
Uh, uh, Addition?
You've got an extra U. So the question then is there an incompatibility besides it just takes a bunch of time up? Because taking time up is like playing basketball and baseball. Um, it makes it harder, and you're probably not going to be number one at either one, but you can do it. It's not like a total disaster.
Okay, before it said religion and superstition incompatible, I changed that to religion slash superstition incompatible with reason.
So,
Mhm. So like basketball and like sports stuff, not very, like, not incompatible. You can still do both. It's not like one messes with the other,
Yeah.
like, actively. Like, passively, like, they might take more time, but, like, maybe if you had a 32-hour day instead of a 16-hour day, you'd, like, be able to perform just as well. And, like, also you could put mental effort in at twice the amount of time, like, twice as much mental effort. Like, you
Yeah,
basically can
maybe.
have, like, 2 people's worth of time, and now you get to do basketball and football. Then that could be,
Yeah.
like,
It's still hard because you part of how you play fast-paced games is you form habits,
hmm,
and so you have to make things become intuitive or autopilot so that you can do it without stopping to think about what to do. Like, you don't want to just remember what do I do in this situation. You want to automatically do it. And sometimes when you're trying to be really good at two things, you find that you need like a little bit of a different mindset. So your intuitions for what to do are different for the different things, and that can interfere with each other somewhat. Like,
yeah.
it's usually not a huge problem with different sports, but
So, like,
I think it's like a little bit of a problem where if you only focus on one, it's easier to react a little bit faster and be like always in the one mode of what to do.
yeah, I notice that sometimes with games, if I'm playing one game, then I switch to another, then, like, for a second I'll be confused, like, wait, which buttons did I press? And I might even, like,
Yeah,
press a button that does something in, like, game one while I'm playing game two, and I'm like, wait, that's not what happens here. But, like, if you're, say, really good at riding bikes, like you're a pro dirt bike uh, racer or whatever, but then you, like, start playing a game, those aren't gonna have, like, contradictions. It's not like, wait, do I do this dirt bike thing in
right.
this game? It's like they're different enough. But if they become, like, similar enough, it could fuck with them, I think.
Right. So if you're doing dirt bike stuff and road bike stuff, it's not a huge problem, but it'll probably be like a little minor problem because they're kind of similar but kind of different.
Hmm.
It's so a good example I think is if you're playing a video game 1 hour a day, it's the only game you play, you're probably going to do a little better than if you're playing two different games 1 hour a day. So you get the same amount of time at the first game, but you're always switching to the other game.
Huh.
It can be like a bit distracting. Although you can also be better off if you just like need more practice playing video games. Like
Just,
for
like, you
for a
don't
lot
know
of
how to press
newbies, just
buttons.
playing games more will help them, so they'll be better off. But there's also a downside of like being used to a different sort of game with different camera controls. Like you move your mouse and the camera moves differently, for example. Like the cameras in Overwatch and Vindictus are a bit different. And so if you're like really used to
Yeah.
one and then you play the other, it's weird. And if you get used to both, then you're not quite as like attuned to either one.
Overwatch 1 goes, like, very fast and, like, exactly where it goes, like, exactly to a certain point, like, immediately after you move your mouse.
Yeah.
But the Vindictus one is, like, floaty, and if you move too fast, I think it can, like, kind of just not move the camera at all. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, I've
Sometimes,
definitely
like,
noticed the floaty part. Yeah, the Vindictus one is a game where you don't need exact camera movement. Like, because you're not aiming, bullet shots. So,
yeah.
since the game isn't as precise about camera aim, they can have a camera that's not that precise and it works fine. It's not a big deal.
Mhm.
But it is quite a different camera experience than Overwatch. And then if you go play like Breath of the Wild or Mario, you got a different camera experience again.
Yeah. Playing two games might help in some way if you're, like, practicing strategizing or something. Like if you're trying to do like the thinking part of a game, then like that
Yeah,
might be good. But if you're like doing the mechanics part and like making the mechanics habit, then that might be harder.
yeah. There are upsides and downsides. Games can have stuff in common that practicing one can help with the other. Like, if you get good at chess and then you go play Go, you're going to do a lot better than a beginner. A lot of board games have shared skills. Okay, so the question is, what's the incompatibility between like smart, science, rational stuff and social, pretty stuff? It's not just that the pretty stuff takes up time, which is pretty important, but it's not the biggest problem.
Okay, so like social stuff takes time, but that's like not the biggest problem. If you like added, like say you do social stuff like 3 hours a day, and then you added like 3 hours to your day to do social stuff, it would still be a problem.
Yeah, so social stuff involves a mindset related to getting along with people and judging things by how other people judge them. So the first one is sort of a conflict avoidance thing where you're trying to say things that people will like. Um, you're not trying to challenge people, you're not trying to be critical. You're trying to find what can we agree about, what can seems nice to everyone, and we just won't look at it too hard. And so science involves conflict. There are conflicting ideas, and you try to refute hypotheses. Whereas social involves avoiding conflict and hiding conflict and doing your conflict covertly when you're passive aggressive. But you sort of try to pretend that you like everyone and everything's great all the time, instead of some things are bad or wrong and how can we debate them and point out flaws, which is a rational mindset. So the mindsets are not just different, but incompatible. If you bring your social intuitions to science, you're going to like try to agree with other scientists and say, "Ooh, good job, good try," or whatever, instead of being like, "How can I look for flaws in this?" Scientists have enough trouble looking for flaws in their own work or anyone else's work. Uh, and then, if you're a social person, that encourages that more.
Okay, so like social things, okay, like more kind of like trying to get along, like kind of be friendly or something, not mention things that like makes people like feel bad or whatever or think less of you.
Yeah,
Uh,
and like if someone makes a mistake, socially, you're usually not supposed to tell them. You just sort of ignore the error and like kind of pretend it didn't happen and gloss it over. Whereas with scientists, when there are mistakes, you're like, oh my god, a mistake. Like you make a big deal out of it, you write it down.
okay.
Uh, that scientists look for mistakes. Social people sort of try to not look for mistakes.
There is a part in the Fountainhead. Uh, okay, part Fountainhead. Like Keating just got a job at Francone, like near the very beginning,
Uh-huh.
and Francone asked him something about like this house, whether it was good or not. Uh, and like
Yeah.
Keating immediately noticed there's like a pillar that would like block the sun, uh, like in the morning or something. Uh,
Yeah.
okay,
I know the scene.
okay. Mhm. Okay, so this is Yeah, I was trying to like look for toothpaste or deodorant because it was like for like someone who manufactured a lot of that or something. I forget.
Keating says, it's more important to make changes you find necessary than to okay every drawing just as Mr. Stengel designed it. He encourages Frankon to fight with Stengel and to boss him around. And he gets away with it. He bossed Franken around. And then to save face, Franken tells him what tie to wear tomorrow. And says, I can boss you around too. Wear a different color tie. And Keating's like, sure, no problem.
I don't think I noticed that when I read this part. This part I think I did read instead of just listen to.
Rand does this a lot. There's something happens, and then something else happens, and they're related, but she doesn't say, here's how they're related, here's why I put these two things next to each other. She relies on the reader to think about what's going on, and like every event has a purpose. If you don't understand why something's happening, you're missing something.
Oh yeah, that's something I remember you writing about, I think. Like things aren't just in the book for no reason. There's like actually some kind of reason or something. Like you don't just put something in with like no purpose. There's like actually a reason something was written.
Yeah, you have to be
So
careful with bad authors, because they'll just throw crap in sometimes. But
Ready
good
Player One,
authors, they're
maybe.
thinking it through. Yeah, I mean, Ready Player One, it's kind of bad, but most of the stuff is there for a reason. Like, it doesn't have much random crap in it. It has crap in it, but the crap is there for a reason, like it's popular crap or whatever.
It's there for a reason.
Like, it's full of a bunch of, like, references to try to appeal to a particular audience and be like, I like the things you used to like.
It does some world building and then also completely ignores the world building or something. There's like one part where main character house is exploded or something and it's like 240 people dead, and then like he mentions like it wasn't even written in the news or something because that's how bad life is or whatever. And it's like, okay, so 240 people died in like an explosion, not even mentioned. And then like later on, like a person in Japan committed suicide, and like one of the characters mentioned that like, oh yeah, here's this news article about like the person who committed suicide in Japan. And it's like, what?
Oops.
This seemed like pretty contradictory. Like a very just single person in Japan committed suicide. Like doesn't seem like major news.
Yeah, I see.
It's like pretty separate in the book, I think, but like still, there's a lot of problems. Okay, so some bad authors, like things that they write, don't actually have a meaning.
Yeah, I mean, it can happen, but for most authors, even if they're not great, the vast majority of stuff they put in the book is there for a reason.
Like it's mentioned a lot that Rourke, uh, he can like kind of move lazily, and he's like very good at just like being comfortable in a situation. Like there's multiple times where he's like sitting on like a windowsill or a davenport. I think that's just like kind of a couch. Uh, or like he has an expert laziness to motion.
Yep, a sofa that can be converted into a bed,
Uh, huh.
usually. This is a large upholstered sofa.
Yeah. So there's like a lot of mentions of like Rourke being able to just like kind of be comfortable in like a lot of situations. I don't think I know what the purpose of that is. Like tells us something about Rourke, I think. Uh like huh. Okay. other people might not try to be comfortable, like they wouldn't kind of. Like there's like one part where he lied down on Davenport. It should be the first reference of Davenport. I remember looking up what Davenport meant because of it.
Yeah, so there's a couple reasons for the lazy stuff that I can think of offhand. One is people who are good at stuff and they're heroic and they do important things and so on. There's a bit of a stereotype that they really try hard and it's like very stressful for them. And there's a bit of a myth that like you can have sort of like an easy life and it's more enjoyable than those like high achievers.
Ah.
So I think part of what she wants is your life doesn't have to be a bunch of stress and pain and whatever in order to do important good things. That's not necessary. And in fact, if you're good at life, it can help you be relaxed and have a nice time. I think a lot of the stress comes from people who are sort of, they're not good enough for what they're aiming for. They're aiming for stuff that's like beyond their abilities.
Good.
And they're trying to make up for it by working super hard all the time. Like, Rourke works hard, but not hard to the point of, like, having a bad time and being unhappy.
He can, like, also do bursts of work. Like, there's multiple times where he, like, mentions he can work all night or something. I'm not exactly sure what that's about, but he can, like, definitely have, like, a long,
Yeah, because he
like,
gets really
method of
interested in
achievement.
it.
And
If you
also,
like what you're doing, it can be inspiring and you can want to keep going.
yeah, that's, like, especially with, uh, they built, like, a vacation place at the beginning of part 4. Like,
Oh, Monadnock Valley?
yeah, Monadnock Valley. Like, he mentions that it was, like, an entire season or something, but, like, the entire team didn't even notice because they were, like, so invested into, like, making it work out. And, like, even though they had, like, really bad living conditions, like sleeping on cots or whatever, and, like, having to warm their hands in the morning so they could hold a pencil, like, they didn't even notice the time. It, like, went by super fast.
Mm-hmm. Right, so, like, that attitude that you just described is very different than Grimes' attitude of trying to look pretty and do her hair all the time.
Mm.
Like, the attitude of this kind of socialite means you always have to remember to care what you look like, instead of just forgetting about it and getting lost in your work. Like, they got lost in making the resort.
Okay. Wait, what was he said before they got lost making resort?
Socialites,
Okay.
put effort.
Socialites.
Are you asking what a socialite is?
Yes. Prominent,
Oh,
fashionable,
yeah, it's like a
social
social climber type.
prominence, influential. Okay, socialite seems like a kind of negative word, like a thing you don't want to be. I don't know what it's used like though.
Um, yeah, I don't know. It's definitely used negative sometimes. I don't know if it always is.
I guess in like objectivism communities, it might be a lot more negative.
Yeah, definitely. Um, so the socialites are always thinking, how do I look? Am I looking impressive? Like, they put work into not forgetting about stuff like their appearance. Not being able to be lost in their work making the resort. They're always, whatever they're doing, they're always diverting attention away from it to think, how do I look? Are there any cameras here? What angle are people seeing me from? Do I need to go redo my makeup?
Do they have like fun doing that, or is it like a chore to them which they don't like?
I think that it's neither one. It's closer to a law of physics from their perspective. It's how the world is, how life is. It's just how you have to deal with life. You don't have a choice about it.
Mhm. There's something in one of the Ayn Rand's things, which is like you always have a choice, or like there's always a choice. I'm not sure where that's from. Just looking on Ayn Rand lexicon, it should be there. So lexicon, always a choice. Compromise, choice. Huh.
I'm not sure what you mean.
Oh.
I don't remember
It's
it
like,
offhand.
okay.
I kind of vaguely remember something like that, I think, but I'm not positive.
Yeah. I don't know where it was. Always a choice, Fountainhead. A choice alone. Make a choice. Okay, there's something about you make a choice. Yes. Yeah, I'm not sure where I heard it then. I'm not sure what context it was or where I heard it from. Didn't find it in Fountainhead when I searched a choice. Finishing books you're already like quite a bit through seems like a good thing as well, because then you don't have to worry about spoilers. Like there might be something in Fountainhead that you like can't talk to me about because like a spoiler or whatever that like could be important. Uh, so like if you finish things, then you can kind of have like uh discussions without having to worry about if you're spoiling anything, where you could like
Yeah,
talk about everything.
yeah, that's nice with books that people actually talk about, which is not most books, but
Oh.
Atlas Shrugged and Fountainhead are books that get talked about a lot in my community. This scene has spoilers, but it has a bad guy saying, "I had no choice. We had no choice. There's no other way to live on Earth. There isn't any choice except to beat them at their own game." Stuff like that.
Okay. So it's kind of like uh, if Howard Rourke like gave up and was like, "This is just like how life is. I can't change it."
Yeah.
Wait, Howard Rourke. That seems almost like Gale and like a Howard Rourke that gave up. I'm not exactly sure, but he like kind of uh, he stopped like doing things because he thought they were like good, like they were what he wanted to do. He started just like doing things for some other purpose. Um, okay, made the banner, and that just is to like appeal to uh, the kind of
The
the
public.
majority's desire or something.
Yeah.
And I liked one part that was talking about like how Gail Wynand was like altruistic. It was like it was like chapter 15 or something in part 4, like very near the end, talking about like how he kind of did the most altruistic thing by like just giving everyone what they wanted, But like if you were to like write a publication, like it was something like if you wrote a publication that was like actually altruistic, you'd have to force it down your throats. But like the banner is what people choose to read, like by themselves. Yeah, something like that. Okay. Okay. I like that part.
So, in social situations, people aren't very honest a lot of the time.
People
They don't
are-
always say what they think. They don't always say when they disagree with stuff.
Oh yeah, so like the pillar in the scene I was talking about on like the mock-up that Keating didn't mention, just like kind of trying to agree rather than confront about things.
Right, whereas the attitude of a scientist has to be always looking for those problems and those issues and bringing up disagreements and doubts and so on, questioning things. But in social situations, people don't like to be questioned. They don't like being asked direct questions very much, or you have to be really careful to make sure you're only asking questions that they'll want to answer.
So if you ask how much someone weighs, that's like not really a question they'd want to answer. But if
Right,
you
or like
ask
their
them
age.
like,
Or
yeah,
if you ask them, like, how's it going with their boyfriend, but they've broken up with their boyfriend, then that was a bad question. That's awkward for them.
there's like some kind of lawyer advice about like only ask a question you know the answer to or something. I wonder if that applies
Yeah.
to social stuff as well.
Yeah, not entirely, but it helps if you already know roughly what's going on. Then you can more easily ask the right questions. So scientists have to ask hard questions. Socialites have to avoid hard questions so no one's uncomfortable.
Yeah, Feynman talked about uh, he had like a quote problem where he never knew who he was talking to, and he like just looked at the idea they stated and like
Yeah,
only thought about that. So
exactly.
he talked to like maybe like one of the most famousest physicist people in the world.
Yeah, Bohr. I think it was Bohr.
Yeah, he had like a son or something, and he mentioned to his son like Bohr had like a son, and he mentioned to his son like, remember that guy because he's like the only one who's willing to tell me if my theories are bad.
I'm confused about the sun. I thought that was between Bohr and Feynman.
Uh, okay, I think there was like Bohr, Feynman, and like maybe Bohr's son were in a room, and then they like talked to each other, and then like Feynman eventually left for some reason. And then like Bohr like told his son to like keep a note that Feynman exists or something. I'm not exactly sure. I remember hearing something like that in
Oh,
Tales from Los Alamos.
okay. I just forgot the part with the sun.
Yeah, I guess that's an extra detail that doesn't matter so much. Like the fact that he told his son to remember about Feynman because Feynman's so important. Like the main thing is like Feynman's like uh good with just saying stuff. That's like the main
Yeah,
thing.
so the attitude of the scientist is to look at reality and what's really there. The attitude of the socialite is to try to look at and navigate what do other people think and want. And reality doesn't really matter. Like, if everyone thinks a particular dress is pretty, then you just go with the group opinion. You don't worry about the truth of the matter.
Right. There's something I forget exactly what it is multiple times in Fountainhead so far. It's been something like uh you're trying to like please someone else who's trying to please someone else who's trying to please someone else. Like
Yeah.
Tui mentioning that is like what he wants to happen or something.
Yes. There's a part about the neighbors as well. Around yeah, here we go. His clients would accept anything so long as he gave them an imposing facade, a majestic entrance and a regal drawing room, with which to astound their guests. It worked out to everyone's satisfaction. Keating did not care so long as his clients were impressed. The clients did not care so long as their guests were impressed. And the guests did not care anyway. And yeah, the one you were mentioning is near the end of the book. Yuhi talking with Peter about everyone trying to guess the thoughts of their neighbor's mind all the way around the world with everyone empty-headed.
There are like some earlier mentions of it, but like that one was like right near the end. Him talking with Peter was like pretty sad, I think. I'm not sure exactly.
Yeah, yep, that's getting to the finale and the conclusions of the book.
Yeah, the work blowing up a building spoiler. I finally got to.
Oh, were you spoiled on that?
Yeah, from like somewhere I forget, like one of the discords you went to for some
Uh-huh.
reason. Like that was one of their main takeaways from the books was Rourke blew up a building.
Oh, yeah, people focus on that if they hate Rand. It seems to them like a good point to attack.
Mhm.
Like, how could Rand defend a dynamiter who blew up a building? What an awful bitch.
Huh.
It's like one of the easiest things in the book to complain about. It's that
Yeah.
and the so-called rape scene.
I was gonna mention the so-called rape scene. Two did a video on the so-called rape scene. I don't understand the
Yeah.
so-called rape scene.
Well,
I don't
Dominique
understand
was
like
into
Dominique.
Rourke and invited him there and could have told him to stop. She knew what she was doing. She set it all up on purpose.
Huh.
It was not literal rape. She wanted him and he knew that. So it's just like a little like role play. There's like male female roles that are common in sex where the man is strong and takes what he wants and the female is like submissive. That's how like most people look at sex basically, is loosely along those lines. Including all the people who talk about equality and whatever, they still mostly look at sex that way. Like all those women who are like, I'm a feminist, men and women should be equal. They still, their actual sexual tastes are strong men, not weak men. Men who are stronger than them, not the same or weaker.
Huh.
And the men, the feminist men who are like, equality, yay. Most of them do not like to be showed up by their wife. They don't want her to make more money than them or be smarter than them, because then they'll feel bad.
There's
Like
like
they
a
want
common
to feel
kind of
like they're good at stuff and that they can actually do like a leadership role. The husband is supposed to be like a bit of a leader, and you can't really lead people that you're worse than or even equal. Like the leader should be a little bit better at minimum.
I don't know if the leader actually does need to be a bit better than minimum, but that does sound like what might be the social norm.
I mean, if I'm better than you, if I make better decisions, why am I going to follow your lead? You should follow my lead. Like, we want to put the best people in charge.
Yeah, that makes sense. But having anyone be a leader instead of no one seems like better option. Like if no one's stepping up to lead, then like I think it's better for like anyone to.
Oh, sure.
Okay, there's also like a common meme or joke with like the husband not doing like home improvement that they're supposed to do or something, and then like not wanting their wife to do it, or for their wife to call like a plumber or like someone to fix things, because that's
Right,
supposed to be
because
like
it's like a male job. So if their woman does it, then they look like dumb or weak or unmanly or whatever. So those kinds of attitudes are common, and being some sort of feminist doesn't usually make them go away.
Does it help
It's
much?
no, it's easy to say equality, yay, to actually change how you view the world and how you think about life and how you act and stuff. It's like a lot of work and stuff. It's a totally different thing than a few slogans.
Hmm. It's like thinking charity is like really important and like really good is like different from say actually donating to charity. That's like probably a common thing, I think. I don't know how much people actually donate to charity, but I don't think it's like
Yeah,
I
that
think
makes
like the
sense.
amount of people who think charity is like good and awesome
Yeah.
is a lot higher than the amount of people who like donate 10% of their income to charity because it's so important.
Oh yeah, yeah. The vast majority of people, if they donate at all, it's going to be like really small amounts that they could actually afford way more if they really cared. Like they like donated $50 this year, and they're like, I actually did it. I actually donated an amount that wasn't zero. I did so good. It's like, come on, dude. You made like $75,000 this year. You could donate more than 50 if it was such a big deal.
There's like a kind of black supremacist person, I think, Gazi Kadzo, who like was within an organization or something, and she like, or he, I don't know, some gender, mentioned that like white people should be donating like 20 or 30% of their money to black people due to like reparations or something, and like stealing black people's like property or whatever. So like that's a very like a lot more serious like uh number
That's
than
not about charity either. That's more like violent extortion.
I don't think I really know what extortion is. Uh, I'm not sure
Like
what you're
getting
talking
people to pay
about.
money because
Yeah.
they feel threatened. Like it's stuff like race riots that can actually motivate people to pay that kind of money in reparations. Um, it's not. No one's actually persuaded of that stuff. Like maybe like a few people, but not the vast majority. The point of it is to pressure them.
The suppression. Uh, yeah, that makes sense. Like the point of it is to pressure them. If you actually did think that like you personally like kind of stole from black people and that it's like your fault, like you're the reason why a lot of black people are in poverty, then I think the number could make sense of like 30%. If it's like your fault, you're the person who's wrong, like you're stealing from black people by existing. Uh, like if that was somehow true, then I think the number could make sense.
Yeah, I didn't own slaves.
Huh.
Have you met anyone who owned slaves?
Uh, I don't think so.
Yeah, me neither.
Hmm.
So I don't quite see how it's my fault.
Yeah.
Sounds a lot like blood guilt, which is really quite similar to racism.
Huh. So I
Not that
guess,
my ancestors owned slaves. As far as I know, none of them ever did.
huh.
It's just that fellow members of my race owned slaves. So, I'm being grouped with other people because of the color of my skin. Is that what's going on here?
Uh,
Did you know there were black slave owners?
uh, I didn't know, but it's not something that would surprise me. Uh,
I think it was like really rare in America.
oh
I
wait,
assume it was more than zero, but there were plenty of them in
some like
Africa.
Africa. Yeah, like that's kind of where they got the slaves to begin with, I think. Like it
Yeah,
wasn't the white people going to Africa and hunting down black people. They like traded with other slave owners.
yeah.
Okay. Uh, okay. Guys,
So
talk
social
about
people
charity.
try to look
Easier
at,
to easier to say things than like do them.
yeah. Social people try to look at what do people think and what do people want, and they sort of navigate that world of people's opinions. Whereas a scientist tries to navigate reality, which is a very different task.
Hmm. So like, so it's kind of like what does my neighbor think versus like what's the actual truth.
Yeah.
Neighbor. I don't know how to spell neighbor. Close enough. Neighbor. Nay? Okay, if I try to spell nay, I think I can get that. So nay. Okay, so just need to try to do the nay, then bore. Nay.
Oh, it's on my screen, did you see?
Yeah. Ooh. British English. British English adds a U. Then it becomes red underlined.
Yeah, British English has a bunch of extra U's, like in
Color.
color. Well, I typoed it, but
There's no what or though. No U in
there
water.
is no.
That'd be fun though.
So, we also live in a world where the people who say they are intellectuals, the professors, the academics, the journalists, the authors, they're doing a type of social climbing. Like how do you make friends and get that job spot at the university? How do you get along with people so that they'll give you a promotion?
Hmm. Yeah. Remember you mentioning, I think, stuff similar to this with like David Deutsch and like being in the Royal Society and like him probably not having like actually a lot of like great discussions with other like great people who are in like a great royal society or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, why is there society? Why did Rourke not join societies? The point of a society is for social networking and prestige.
Hmm. Hmm. I think it could make sense somewhat, like if you had maybe an architecture Discord server that had like a bunch of architecture resources or whatever that like led to different things.
Yeah,
That
that's
could maybe
fine.
make sense.
That's not like what these sort of societies are like.
It's not like uh, science related to X society where it's like, oh, here you can learn a bunch about like this specific part of science. Like here's some continued reading. Here's a bunch of books that we like. I feel like FI is kind of one of the only places that has like uh something information with links to more information and then like a place to discuss the information. So you have like a reading list and then like a place to discuss like the books on the reading list and you have like ideas and like links to relating ideas and stuff.
Yeah, it's not the only one. Like Less Wrong has that.
Huh. That's right. Yeah, they also have discussion stuff. Huh.
You see my latest blog post?
Last wrong ban me.
Yeah,
Yes.
that one. So on the
Yeah.
one hand, they have links and literature and a discussion forum. On the other hand, they ban people for disagreeing with them.
I don't know if they have like a rule which just says that like, by the way, we can ban you for no reason if we wanted to. I think that would be like a good rule just to add for like everything because like everyone kind of does that already. So like if you think you're probably gonna do that, then just like add it so people know what they're signing up for.
Well, they don't want to admit that that's what anyone is signing up for. They put effort into denying that.
Yeah, that is seems bad. You're doing one
Uh-huh.
thing and then lying about you doing that thing. Oh, that's lying.
Yeah.
I feel like the well-kept gardens thing was kind of about like banning people because you don't like them.
Yes, but they haven't written that stuff down as like official rules.
So there's no rule about if you have 2 trillion downvotes, we're gonna ban you.
Right. Yeah, they'll use downvotes as reasons, excuses to ban people. They've done that with other people as well. But they never make a rule that says it's actually a reason for banning, and if you're getting a lot of downvotes, be careful. That like they never say like treat downvotes as a warning.
Okay. So it's maybe kind of is like argument spaghetti or something. I don't know. Okay,
And they never
they're
say like
like,
how many is a lot or whatever. Like I have around -1 karma per comment. Like one downvote per comment on average. Is that a lot? Like
hmm.
I write a comment and one person downvotes it, and then I write another comment and one person downvotes it, and oh, everyone hates my stuff. Really?
What if Andy goes through your comment history and downvotes everything?
Yeah, you can actually get banned if you downvote hundreds of stuff things and go through old stuff like that.
Huh. It seems kind of really sad and like bad that like Andy, I think he kind of like won. Like he just used a
Uh-huh.
sock puppet, and then he's like, okay, let's see if I can get Curie banned from Less Wrong. He's like, awesome, I got him banned. It got me banned as well, but that doesn't matter at all. It was just a sock puppet. Who cares?
Yeah, I mean he made a fresh account on not his standard name.
And then like both of you got like a 2-year ban. Like, huh? He came to like specifically harass Curi, and he succeeded. Let's ban both of them an equal amount of time.
Yeah. They didn't really think it through. They don't want to discuss it. They just wanted to not deal with the problem, and they just don't like me. Like a few of them. They're very hands off. Like, I wrote like 15 posts or whatever, and they never told me there was a problem. They never gave any guidance about what they wanted or what they didn't want. There was no like welcome to the site. There's no interaction with the like leadership team. It felt like there were no police. Like it was just talk to people and no one's paying any attention. Which I think it was until, like, I think the only reason I got banned is because I reported Andy and then they started paying attention. I think if I didn't report Andy, then nothing would have happened. Because, like, he was, like, falsely accusing me of having been banned and other ridiculous stuff, and the moderators, like, they weren't going to notice on their own. And that GJM guy was like, I demand you delete that stuff from your website, you copyright infringer. And I'm like, did you even click the link and look at the thing you're demanding I take down? And he's like, no, my bad. And the mods don't notice that either.
What? I don't recall this GJM. What was this?
Oh. Yeah,
GJM.
his name is GJM. It's in my comment history somewhere.
Okay, site curi.us. GJM? Is it on curi.us? Less wrong.
Yeah, if you go to the less wrong thread, you should be able to find it.
Okay, August 2nd, 2020. GJM. Okay, Remy. GJM row. This is like the first thing. Okay, let's look for the italics.
I just searched for copyright.
Oh, copyright. That makes sense. Yeah. Stop with the copyright violations already? Okay, so apparently you're doing copyright violations. Quoting is not a copyright violation? Oh, that's what he was... Wait, was he specifically mad at, like, the quoting?
Yeah, I mentioned that I was like mirroring my blog posts onto my website, and then I was quoting some of the discussion.
Wait, you
And
were
then he
mirroring
went off on
your
me
blog
without even
posts.
looking at it.
Mirrored your own blog posts and quoted the discussions on your own blog posts?
Yep.
Huh.
That was the general idea, so he decided to yell at me without actually looking at it at all.
One thing relating to your ban, one thing that's really nice about legal systems, I think, is that you actually have to be charged for like a specific crime. There has to be like
Yeah.
a crime with certain standards that you have to be charged for, and if you like can argue that like it's not, or if you can like argue reasonable doubt or whatever in like a legal system about
Yeah.
that specific crime, then you like can't be charged for it anymore. It's like, okay, you defended yourself against this specific thing. There's not just like a general catch-all, like, we don't like you law, which is like, we don't like you, try to defend yourself. And then there are like things like, we didn't like this blog post, you have a bunch of downvotes.
Less Wrong was pretty different than that. They were more like, we don't like you. You can no longer post on this site. You will have no opportunity to defend yourself. We didn't bother messaging you to tell you that you're banned. You just get the error message when you try to change your password.
Error message. Huh. Yeah. That sucks. Yeah, so...
But yes,
Core,
they did not accuse me of breaking any written rule. And they gave no warning. And I think that's a really bad combination. I understand if forums don't write everything down in advance, and then they say, you know what, I need you to stop doing X. Like, I think it's somewhat reasonable to give someone a warning, if you do X, I will ban you, which is like adding a rule, basically. And then if they do X again, then you ban them. But they were, no warning and no rule broken. then what could I have possibly done to not get banned? There's no way to avoid that.
Yeah.
I mean, the answer for how to not get banned is social climb better, get along with people, make friends. Like, it's supposedly a rationality discussion forum, but they ban you for not doing a good enough job of making friends with people. So, it's actually a good example of what we were talking about, how you can't have it both ways. Like, there I was doing rationality things, and they want friendship on their forums, and they found that that was so incompatible that they had to ban me.
These like titles for each like section of the article seem something social rather than like kind of biographical. Like instead
Yeah.
of being like
This one's ridiculous, though. Like, that she says she doesn't care about gender and, like, wasn't raised as a girl exactly. Like, she's really girly. It's very standard lying, though. The guy said, "Ha, I kiss raped you," and left after grabbing her and kissing her. What the fuck? That sucks.
Yeah. I remember you linking a video about like famous people having to deal with like stalkers.
I don't know. The police seem to be pretty bad at that kind of stuff, though.
Okay.
Police are pretty bad at most stuff.
Oh yeah. Is Andy like still kind of partially interested in your ideas? Like some of his some of his
Probably.
like accounts, like Pierre Go, like you wrote something about trees, and then Pierre Go commented, like, oh, uh, he commented something about it. He was like, interesting idea. I think our brains are too different for me to use it though, and it's like kind of weird because like, is he like intentionally just trying to like say things like build a reputation with that account, or is he like
Yeah,
kind of still interested?
he tried to get along with me at first on that account. I think he's very confused.
Do you think like a lot of people who commit crime and do bad stuff like that are like kind of confused or don't understand what they're doing? I feel like sometimes it's kind of like more clear cut, like someone's really evil and bad, but
I don't think
uh,
Andy's confused about his crimes. Like,
uh,
you know, when you spam someone, when you sign them up for
spam
email
someone
newsletters
up for
in
email
order to spam their
newsletters.
inbox, like, you
Huh?
know that that's bad. Like,
Yeah.
you're intentionally lashing out and trying to fuck with them. When you
Huh?
threaten someone and say that you're gonna fuck up their IRL, and you're totally serious and they have 24 hours to meet your demands, or else, then, you know, you're not confused about whether you were doing something that's not acceptable to like normal society.
Wait, did he do that to you?
No, to freeze.
Oh. Huh. That seems like extra fucked up. Like, instead of targeting like the head of the community, like targeting like other people in the community. That seems like worse in a way. I'm not sure.
Oh no, but he's targeted a bunch of people.
Huh.
He's also sock puppeted at like other communities, like various Reddits.
Hmm.
Because
What
he was getting in
is?
trouble with the mods there, because he has trouble getting along with anyone.
Hmm. Hmm.
What's weirder to me is the people who defend him and keep being friends with him. Like, what the fuck are they
Friend him.
doing?
Eating friends.
Like, it's risky.
Yeah.
What if he turns on them? Why would you want to be around that guy? And it's horrible to encourage him.
Yeah, like you don't even try to like link to the AndyB harassment article. You don't like link. Okay, something that could make sense is like you hear your friend did this, and like you're linked the AndyB harassment article. You read through it, and you're like, oh, that seems convincing. Then you like link your friend, like AndyB or whatever. Like, hey, someone wrote this entire article about you. Can you refute it? Otherwise, I think you're a terrible person.
Yeah, no, he has not attempted to write a rebuttal. He just seems to have figured out that some people just don't care.
Hmm.
Pretty uncivilized of them.
Yeah. Naming your child XAE-A12 seems bad.
I agree. I think names should be like reasonably pronounceable and writable.
Not really sure what the point of a name is, but XAE-A12 seems to kind of violate like a rational like reason. It seems more like kind of to be like as a conversation thing, or to be like, yeah, I named my child XAE-A12. What you gonna do about it? Rather than like a serious name for your child.
Yeah, I don't know what they were thinking. Maybe they just wanted to stand out. I think most people, if they were sort of like rich and powerful, would do a lot more weird stuff. Like if they thought they could get away with it, they do all kinds of dumb stuff.
Mm.
I don't think it's that the rich people are particularly weird. It's like most people just suppress their weirdness because they're not very powerful and like people won't put up with it.
Mm.
But if you're Elon Musk, then people just put up with all kinds of crap you do.
Yeah. Like he could probably become like a girlfriend with like, or he could probably have a girlfriend out of like dozens of millions of women, uh, in like just his current state, but like other people probably not.
Yeah.
They'd like put up with a lot of weird shit because it's Elon Musk, but not with like a random guy named John.
Yeah. Right. If John's weird on a date, women are gonna be like, weirdo, bye. But if Elon Musk is weird, women are gonna be like, wow, I love your quirks so much. Let's get married. I want billions of dollars.
Hmm.
So one of the consequences of how dumb almost everyone is and how focused they are on like social stuff instead of the scientific or rational mindset is there's a shortage of people who think about things in an effective, useful way. Like there's a lack of real thinkers instead of social climbers pretending to be thinkers. Which means there's a big opportunity for people to do actual thinking and make breakthroughs and figure stuff out and whatever. It's fairly hard to be listened to, even if you come up with something important, but it's not impossible, and it's a more fulfilling type of life to try to figure out some actual stuff instead of trying to get along with people and see how rich and famous of a person you can date at some point in your life or make friends with or whatever.
Yeah. Seems like similar to like Galen and asking like hard work. Do you always like being hard work? Uh, I don't know why I didn't just directly say yes, but I'm very sure uh, the reaction by hard work was a yes. And Gale
Oh,
Wynand
yeah, what did he
did
say?
not always like being Gale Wynand.
Oh, he smiled. Yeah, that's a yes.
Contemptuous. Dictionary.
It's in a lot of ways it's easier than people think to do important intellectual work because there's not very much competition. A lot of stuff just like no one has worked on much. If you look at philosophy, the entire history of civilization, there have been like less than 100 people who did much. It's not it's not a very well developed field.
Hmm.
Same with like economics. There
So
have
like,
been, I don't know, like 50 economists who made much difference, maybe fewer.
huh. So like supply or would it be supply and demand? I don't know. I don't exactly know what demand is. They might not be like people wanting like good thinkers, but like the
Yeah.
potential for good thinkers to exist is like really fucking high.
Yeah, and like how many people have done good work that follows Popper or that follows Rand, like building on them? Like single digits people?
Hmm.
How many people have done useful stuff on AGI from like a like more of a philosophy perspective than a learn to program perspective?
Okay,
Like
that
actually understanding it
seems
conceptually.
okay. Critical rationalism I think is like philosophy relating to Karl Popper, and Karl Popper
Yeah.
disagrees with like how people think. So like learning Karl Popper and Thomas Saw's seems somewhat relevant, or Karl Popper especially, Thomas Saw's maybe less, a lot less, but still
Yeah.
semi-relevant to
Yeah.
like AGI. So like if you don't know those two people who might completely disagree with you about like what you think you need to do to make an AGI, then like you could very easily fail. Like, is there a 10% chance they're right? That means there's a 10% chance that all of the work you put in is going to be like completely wasted.
Yeah, I've tried saying that to people. Any guesses on their reactions?
Whatever. Maybe it's like 5% or 1%. Who cares? I want to do programming stuff.
Yeah, it's a little like that. It's often like, you're crazy, I'm not going to talk to you.
Oh, so don't even deny it.
Or a lot of times they just ignore you, or they say, oh, there's a bunch of great arguments against Popper. And then I'm like, which ones? And they're like, it's not my job to answer your questions. So you can see how they don't actually have arguments. They're just sort of pretending to have arguments that they never actually want to provide. Because if they provide them, you could point out things like how Popper's books already explained why they're wrong. So it's not a very good rebuttal.
Didn't okay, I think it was Popper, or okay, I think multiple people released a book talking about misconceptions of like maybe their previous book. I think Popper did that, and maybe like William Godwin or something. They were
Not
like,
exactly. But one of the Popper's written things about ways he was misunderstood here and there. And one of the books he has is, well, there's a section called Replies to My Critics, where
okay, I
there
think
are
that's what
like
it's
30
about.
something articles that people wrote, most of them critical, and then Popper went through and replied to all of them.
I
And
wonder if
now, today, I've never met a Popper critic who says, I read through all the criticisms, and then I read through all of Popper's responses, and now I have something new to say that's not already covered. Like, I've never heard that claim once.
so that seems like a pretty low barrier to entry to be like the first person to do that.
Yup.
I remember you
Well, I mean,
also
you'd have
said
to read like a long book. And if you're going to do a good job, you'd have to read like other books by Popper too.
like just being able to do a bad job of it, like trying it all. Like,
Yep.
huh. I remember you saying something about like no one you've told to read chapter one of Fountainhead actually read chapter one of Fountainhead. They either read like nothing or all of it.
Yep.
I think I succeeded at doing that. I read like a chapter, then like uh only read like maybe a few sentences into the next chapter, and then like it was kind of like, okay, I read the first chapter. Then like maybe a few days I read more. But like I read a single chapter in a single day. No, not much more. I think I pretty much succeeded. I
I
didn't
don't
like
know,
read
you're
the
near the
entire
end of
book.
the book. Seems like you read more.
Huh.
It's okay, the point wasn't don't read the book. The point was just,
Yeah.
if you read chapter one, you'll have a good idea of whether you like the book or not.
Yeah. I like
So
the
the thing
book.
you don't want to do is either read none of it or read the whole book and then say, I didn't like it. What was the point of that?
Yeah. It's like read
If you read
chapter
it and you
one,
like it, it's
then like,
okay.
yeah. Okay. It's like read, you can like read chapter one, and then you're like, did I like that or did I not like that? And you can continue on. This is similar to like what you said about like read a part of a book and get to the first error. Like, uh, and then like you can post like what you think is wrong with it. And you're like, if you can go like one page into a book and you don't see an error, that's like pretty cool. Let's keep reading. And if you go 10 pages, and it's like, oh wow, this book's pretty good so far. Like no errors in 10 pages. I remember you saying something like that, I think, about reading a book that about reading books that people think they'll dislike. I think it was in relation to FI books. Like if you think you'll not like it or whatever, just try to get to the first error or something.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. Or, if you prefer, if someone you like has written a criticism of it, you can just read that. Read an essay about why it's bad.
Hmm.
If no one on your side has written anything about why it's bad, to save you time, then you could read the book itself until the first bad part. Because no one bothered to check for you. But if someone else on your side already read the book and wrote something down, then you don't necessarily need to read the book. You can just say, I read this criticism of the book and I agree with it, and if there's anything wrong with it, I'd be surprised. And that way you're sticking your neck out and able to be argued with. That's another part of the scientific mindset, is to stick your neck out, to make bold claims that are fairly easy to refute. Because they're
Okay.
clear and specific and strong and stuff like that. Whereas in social world, people hedge a lot and they try to avoid ever being clearly wrong about anything.
Yeah. So.
A lot of times people they don't want to be the first to speak in case people disagree with them. They just want to wait until someone else says something and say, yeah, I agree with that. Which is
Yeah.
kind of funny because whoever speaks first, usually everyone is like, yeah, I agree with that. So if you go first, you have a big advantage. You can just say anything and everyone will agree with you. It usually works.
Huh. Yeah, there's been multiple times where I thought what if I were to say something about X position, and then I could be or position A, and then I could imagine some people agreeing with that. And I was like, okay, what if I said something about position B, which is almost the opposite of position A, and I could still imagine people agreeing with that. There's something about saying a kind of intellectually sounding thing. I don't know exactly what it was, but I was thinking something, I don't know, just use words in a kind of fancy way. Whatever. I'm not sure.
Oh, have you been watching Upper Echelon Gamers?
Yes.
Did you see their FaZe Clan video about the PPP loan abuse?
Yeah.
Someone just wrote a long ass comment with a bunch of details about FaZe.
Huh. I don't know what I think about PPP loan abuse.
I think the whole loan thing is dumb. I don't know how much that's FaZe's fault though. Yeah, I thought the
Like,
video was somewhat unfair. If the government's gonna hand out money and you qualify, I mean, what do you expect people to do other than accept the money?
yeah.
Oh, do you have RSS?
No.
Well,
I
you could get something
didn't
and
figure out
pretty useful.
how that worked. I didn't try to figure out how RSS worked.
See, here's all the curi posts, and then the curi comments, and then the YouTube podcast, and then I have other people like Rami and Max and Anne and Alan and Justin. And you can find all their stuff.
And it has numbers next if there's new things?
Yeah. Yeah, and I put in upper echelon gamers. I already
You
watched
can
this one.
put subscription feeds into it as well.
You can put in YouTube channels and blogs and podcasts.
Huh. And some news websites.
Yeah. Yeah, anything that's kind of like a list of articles frequently has an RSS feed.
Huh. Is front page mag got that yet? I remember you
No,
added
but
like getting
Max made
bookmarks.
a thing, so you
Yeah.
can use them anyways.
Huh. Okay, this seems like a useful thing which I should try to figure out. Sometimes I look at websites and like them, but then I like don't manually check them every time. But if they're like in literally just like a single line list that I could like see the
Yeah.
article name of, that seems good.
Yeah, it makes it easier to keep track of things that you don't check all the time.
Okay. Uh, my first impressions with RSS was it seems hard to do. I don't know. Maybe I have to get a program. It seems like if it was just a thing that already existed on my computer, I'd use it, but maybe too much effort. I don't know.
It's
Whatever.
super easy on Mac. I don't know what they have for Windows.
Huh. Thanks.
On Mac, you just search for Vienna RSS, and you download this one.
Huh. Okay.
And I just sent you my feeds, and you can import all of my feeds to start with.
Huh. Oh. Just like look up RSS. Wait, RSS reader? What's a reader?
Yeah, Reader. That's what you want. That's an app like this where you can read RSS things.
Okay, so instead of like having to go to the website, it has like the text inside of it itself.
Not everything has the text. Sometimes you need to click on it. Like this looks like it's just sort of the title and description.
See, it's like
And you click on it and it
perfect.
opens in your browser.
Huh.
Yeah, so sometimes
Okay.
it's just a preview, but it still helps you find it.
Yeah.
I've been telling people to use this stuff for years so that they can get new curi comments more easily.
Right now, I've just been looking at like the recent discussion, like at minimum every week. I think like maybe once a day or something recently. I'm not sure what I usually do.
Yeah, I made a decent page where you can actually find stuff. A lot of blogs, it's actually hard to find new comments. Like they don't really have good navigation,
Hmm.
right? But I think this page works okay. But I think having an RSS feed is good. And yeah, it helped me follow like Rami and Anne and people.
Hmm. Okay. Okay, so I just look up like RSS Reader Windows 10. There's like multiple lists that are
Yeah,
showing, and then I could just like try them.
yeah. I got it also partly because of YouTube stopped sending out email notifications, which is really annoying to me.
Huh. I go on YouTube a lot, so I notice the bell like all the time.
Well, that's what I have to do now. I just go on YouTube at least like once a day and click on the bell and look for new
Huh.
things. But it's a terrible system. Like there isn't even a page where you can go through your notifications. Like it's just literally this tiny little bell menu and that's all you get.
Yeah.
So that's pretty awful, I think. So you can add YouTube channels into RSS if you want.
adding YouTube channels also seems nice. Many years ago, they got rid of like subscription somethings. Like you could kind
Groupings.
of, yeah, I
Yeah.
really like them. If you wanted to, you could have like all your like subscriptions for a specific video game in one, and then like video game 2 and video game 3, and then like maybe you could have like your grouping for like channels you like absolutely love but watch every single upload. They upload like once a month, and then you can have like 4 channels in that single grouping, and you could
Yeah.
like group things. And then they got rid of it.
I don't know. Yeah, they're like a huge site with a huge budget, and then their actual features are pretty trash. And yeah, so I considered adding like all the YouTubes into the RSS reader, but there's, I was subscribed to getting notifications from like 60 channels or something. So I just added a few of the most important ones instead, and I go to YouTube regularly. Because there's no way to get an RSS feed of like all your notifications. You can only get them one channel at a time. You have to add every channel individually.
So you can't click on like the YouTube folder and then get like all the notifications for Up Rational and St.
Oh,
Louis
no, you can do
too.
that. Yeah, I can click on the YouTube folder. That works fine. But like I'd have to add every single channel one by
Uh,
one into my
s-
RSS reader. So it'd be
so
really
you can't
annoying.
just like cluster add all of your like subscriptions. It's not like
Yeah.
button imports subscriptions to RSS.
Yeah, they're all separate feeds. It might be worth it to figure out how to add them all. There might be a way to do it automatically, or I could just spend half an hour and actually do it.
Mhm.
I don't know. For the moment, though, I'm using the bell.
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna be back in a minute.
Should we just unstream?
Yeah, that might also work. I'm going to try to RSS reader. Yes.
Okay, yeah. Later on stream then. Bye.
Okay. But